strim. Strim good. I strim the best. Turn this down a little bit. Need my Twitch panel. Need it over here. Hello? Hello? Okay. There we go. It's working. Everything is working. I'm the workingest. Hey. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Trying to get people to show up. Doo-doo-doo. Trying to get people to... You know, if you're going to get pre-roll ads anyway, I might as well just, like... do one. Yeah. Why not? Oops, I put MEGABONK hate update. Uh-oh. Just elect just. Oh, I want just. Oh, right. I need to go into my profile. I need to set myself as go live for at least an. Should be about right. Yeah, a good couple right. See how it goes. Yay! Yeah, it's hot. Welcome back from ad break, everyone. I remembered and ran one at the start like a good girl. How we doing? I see a burb. Yeah, well, I figured if I ran the ad early, I'd get at least a few minutes of no ads when people hopped in. So I was like, screw it, let's run an ad and see if I can temporarily disable the pre-rolls. Merlin, don't start. I don't know if it worked, but screw it. Maybe. Actually, if you're getting ads dropping in then maybe it didn't work. Oh no, I tried to fix it. I'm sorry. Okay. Well, efforts were made. Okay. Oh, we have some things in my... Oh my gosh. Just saw the photo of Liz trying to get to her computer. I thought pre-roll was when you first join in. Whatever. It is the hat update. And I wanted to try the hat update. It looks like the entire top list right now. I might as well just hop over and show that. But then why is it disable pre-roll for a certain amount of time if you run enough ads? Because pre-roll is what you see before you're allowed to see the stream. I think. I'm pretty sure. If I run 3 minutes of ads an hour, it disables pre-roll for an hour. So people don't get the ads when they join. Supposedly. I don't do that enough. I tried running a 1 minute ad hoping it would buy us 20 minutes or so where people could join in, and I guess it just didn't work. So, an attempt was made. But hey. Oh, I am doing the wrong thing. Hold on. There we go. Still set up for a slime forest. I am blocking most of this for the sake of argument. Donald Trump is third place, and that makes me sad. And literally everyone is playing the dice dude. I don't know why. I don't know what's good about the dice dude. I don't really like the dice dude, but apparently he is the new meta. Going by what I'm seeing here. Just holy shit. Now we know. Yeah, we got new stuff supposedly. Get 22 hats. Find the frogs. Well, buy items from the shady guys. Okay. Kill enemies using Quinn's mask. That's very specific. Hi, Lizzie. Use mines while flying. Have a very specific build as Sir Oofy. Beat the final boss of Desert 3 with 8 moldy cheese and a snake. That is a lot of cheese. Wow. Okay. I've never gotten anything to level 40. That's intense. Okay. Kill a boss or mini-boss in under a second is Clank. That's interesting. Use Cursed Shrines as Ninja. I can see why that's the one people are getting. Blow up microwaves. Get punched by Kevin. I don't have Kevin. 100,000 kills I've never done. I don't... Have I? Yes, I have. Forest, yes. Oh my gosh, you dug Dimmadome it. Get every character to rank 100. Wow. Alright. Well, I mean, off the top, we're looking for frogs because we have to. And we could try the Oofy thing, but boy, that's very... I don't have corrupted swords, so never mind. I guess we do Clank and see what happens. Take Clank into the forest and look for frogs. That seems like that's the plan. Alright, I don't play Clank much, so let me even remember where he is. We want default Clank or dark and spooky? We want default Clank. Like him more. Screw you, Desert. Okay. We're just gonna go right on in and see what happens. We're looking for frogs! Looking for frogs. Me and my guns. Bang, bang, bang! Good start. Less good start. More bang, bang. And pots increase luck now, which is great for me as someone who habitually opens every pot she sees. Pretty much. Oh yeah, Clank starts with a shield because... I don't really like any of that. Okay. Yes, I see the guy over there to buy from him. He's good to start. I don't know what I'm looking for with the frog. Hopefully it won't be too subtle. I'm supposed to find them on every tier. Get some zoomies out the gate, so that's good. Sure, man. Gun's doing well. Okay. Moldy gloves, you say? Alright. There's over there that I didn't grab? Stupid? Oh, shoot. I have to hang on this movement stuff. I'm not very good at it, but I'm also getting that. How you doing tonight, Fritzy? I do the opposite of what I'm hearing. Landwalker sounds fun. The template arc. Use a templating arc. Yeah, I'll get one moldy shield. You have 2 keys right now, too. Like, what choices? Ooh. 5 steel armor. Oh, excuse me. Let me just bonk that. You're a getcha. Hi, Solar. Oh, no cursing. Oh. Now let me get this out of the way. Shit, damn, fuck, ass, damn it. Okay. Well, it's time for everyone's favorite prediction. You got 1 minute. I gotta start a timer. Don't mind me just setting a timer. Get your predictions in, and then I'll start the timer. I'm gonna do armor tome, I think. This Clank is real I don't know. Dice? I mean, with what I've got going on, that might work. Building for crit rates. That could actually give me some good. I was not looking. Okay. Still voting. Still voting. Do the people believe? Let's find out together. There's a lot of magnets around. There's something up there. I have to go up there. I do like banana ring. Hi, Ana. Alright. So, I am now officially starting the fucking shit-ass damn bitch timer. Go. Okay. Now I gotta behave. Oh, I do like movement speed. More crit chance, more crit damage. I mean, I say I gotta behave. I think Liz wants me to not behave. I think she's hoping I mess up. So, there's that to consider. More shield. Clank is big shield. Do I want to go hard on shield? I guess. Like, I have more shield than health, which is weird and scary. That's like a boss buster. This is also weird. I don't know if I want to go down there or not. Oh, no, let's double check them. Well, so much for killing them in a second. They spawned in EBDB. They are gone. Yeah. Ooh. I don't really trust myself to keep distance. Is the problem? Is that a frog? I see a thing. I see a thing. Is that a frog? Oh. Excuse you. More damage on main weapon, good. Yeah, Chunkum, if you want to come join the class, you're more than welcome. Fine. We'll attempt this again. Is this the frog? Oh my gosh, they run. The frogs are running. Do I have to kill the frogs? Oh no! Have I failed frog? I think I failed frog. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. Oh no. They just run around. They're marked on the map as things to think and pursue. They're so strong. Okay, ooh, armor, shield, HP. Aid my survivability, please. Always, always. I should be getting any items. It would probably help me. Okay, well, 2 of the frogs are over by the boss gate, so in theory that'll help me. I would love if Chunkum would join the game. That'd be very nice of him. But it doesn't seem like he's interested. Need output, homies. Come on. Hey, there's one. Hi, welcome to class. Don't mind me. I'm just learning how to fly. Now there'll be 3 of you next time. Oh please, yes. Oh yes, please. Okay, we got rid of a Chunkum. Where's this other dude hiding? Frog's strong. I got a frog. We got a frog. 1 frog down. Frog down. This is bizarre. Okay, yeah, more crit chance. It's fine. Do like more bananas. Warger's fine. Oh, the bogs just keep on wandering. The bogs? The frogs keep on wandering. Okay, so we were constantly chasing these frogs. They are not easy to kill. I feel bad killing frogs. I feel like I am betraying the kindness I want to show frogs. Alright, there's 2 frogs brutally murdered. That makes everyone happy. I must now suck. More damage. More damage whenever possible. A projectile counts as more damage. Ooh, more crit chance. More bap frogs as I get the chance. I think bapping would have two Ps, just to be fair. This is eating the time. Oh, there's my 5 minutes. Sorry, Lizzie. I was very focused on frog. Well, I unlocked green frog. Okay. Did Sarah swear? No one called me out on swearing, so I was strong. I'm pretty good at... It's fun. I don't even notice when I do. I mean, people are like, you do it a lot, and then I don't, and you never know. You never know. I'm a mystery. I'm an enigma. Alright, now over here where all these Moai have been taunting me this entire time as I try to get any of this map share. I don't think I did, but again, I kind of rely on people actually calling me out on it. Because I am not that conscious of it usually. Oh, yes! What? You don't know if I cursed or not? Maybe you should pay more fucking attention. Oh. Oh, choices. Crit chance. And get the luck tome, so the fact of getting so many rares is really nice. Which wants us to collab? Man, you should get that Dokapon then, I guess, and we'll just ruin each other's lives. Wanna ruin each other's lives? Solar, do you want to hate me? Solar? Get out of microwave right now. It worked. More bananas. More bananas. You doubt you'd hate me? You haven't played Dokapon, have you? You hate everyone by the end of the game at Dokapon. It calls itself friendship destroying for a reason. That game is mean. It is mean to you. It is mean to your friends. We become mean to each other. Oh, you just kind of have to embrace that it's gonna kind of suck, and then you'll have an okay time. Playing Dokapon to win is miserable. Playing Dokapon to be a little bastard, now you're playing it right, probably. Ooh, that's lush. Okay. these are all ass. How's my crit chance doing? Not bad. Hurry up. HP regen might actually help me a lot here, because I don't have a lot of it to deal with, so having any regen would be smart. More revolver damage, now you're speaking the language. I am not confident in our output, but whatever. It could be worse. It's just I gotta cross the whole map and do the gate still. I'm getting more bananas. Who doesn't love a good pile of bananas? In Mario Kart, I can't get out of the mindset if I want to win, because Mario Kart literally grades you at the end of a Grand Prix, so I feel like I have to win, or I'm doing a bad job, and Mario Kart is judging me, because Mario Kart is judging me. Because it's a judgy little game. Mario Kart and me don't really get along very well. Ooh, lifesteal. Again, eventually those shields will not be sufficient, and I need to make sure I'm at least adequately equipped to do something about that situation. Now, we're not getting the bottom right. This is not going to be an all shrines run probably, but ooh, those are all really good. See, I didn't know the PS2 had a version of the Wii one, so that was cool to find out eventually. I just knew it as the Wii one, and now there's the new one on Steam, and it's on sale for like $10, and Yuri bought it for me. So I'm like, oh yeah, let's rope our friends into a long, annoying commitment, because it's not exactly a short game, is it? Oh, I'm pushing my luck a little here, but whatever. If I don't have hubris, are we even... I didn't turn on the bingo, I'm sorry. We'll do it after on the next either floor round, okay? We'll figure it out. More projectile. I am trying to work my way towards the boss gate. I really am. There's gotta be 3 of the dude. Oh, I never checked off Liz's no cursing thing. I need to actually say we accepted that. Where's my mouse? Found it! There you go, Lizzie. That is good crit damage. I do have a good crit rate. It's just going to stack no matter what. Oh, that's fair. Did you know there's like a whole franchise of Dokapon stuff? Some of it's like Pokemon, basically. It's very strange. Oh, this is going to be a rough one. Alright. I'm going to go over here. I am very worried. Very worried about how this is going to go, but we're trying. We found the frogs. They were very distracting, so getting that done's good. I'm not going to be doing this for too long, so I still got to cook dinner and all that, but I thought a round or two would be fun. We'll see how it goes. Is the gate just in a nightmare hole? Yeah, kind of. Alright, I still took fall damage from that. I really tried not to. Meow. You abused your mod power to start bingo. Well, alright. Then you get to babysit the bingo. Bloody Cleaver. Hey, lifesteals. Well, then I have more encouragement to do lifesteal, don't I? Go. Hurry, hurry, hurry. We are already in overtime by like half a minute. Oh, that doesn't look good. Hey, look at my luck. It's great. Remember, I have like no health. It's over. So, that didn't go great, but we found the frogs. So here's a pet peeve. Here's a pet peeve I have. If you're doing a challenge, there's a restart button. But if you're just doing standard, there's no restart button here. And I just find that very frustrating, personally. What was I trying to do as Plank again? Just kill dudes? Any boss or mini-boss under a second. That's very specific. Alright. But hey, we've now unlocked Green Frog. You've earned his trust and friendship. He's fucking dead. shouldn't laugh that hard at that. That's very funny to me. All right. Oh, I'm a frog killer, so we're Dark Clank. Oh. Alright, I forgot. I'm gonna do it in here. Oh, hey, we got a hat menu now. There you go. There's my... Yeah. I always think it's over here. There's my dead frog on my head. Because I'm a monster. He's fucking dead. Love and peace, dead frog. Yes, please. Oh, yes, please. He's really cute, and he'll always hold still. Are we the baddies? Yo, these are all kind of mid. Well, I mean, I am the gun guy. Alright. I whipped it on the pot. I whipped it on the pot. Me when I come home and forgot to stop at Moda. Sorry, babe, I whipped it on the pot. Oh. I guess we're just getting pure attack speed now. Alright. The game is spoken. We're gonna pew pew fast. Oh, yes, okay. I'm going to attack lots and very fast. Gotcha. Yes, please. That stupid pig shows up. I want his head to just turn into dust, please. Sure. Sure. Give me the shotgun, too. I'll have a lovely time. I'll just go full bang bang. Crit damage is good for him. Alright. Bang, bang, bang! Woo, woo! I gotta do the camera stuff. Oh, ooh, oh, XP game. I see. The route is planned. I think that straight B-hop thing down. I don't know. I have to watch some more stuff on how to do that. I don't think I do anything. I do feel like I'm going a little faster. Enjoy hell. Bye. Movement speed's not really happening for me so much at this point, but this could add up a lot over the course of the run, because it's early. Yeah, I can work on the big up thing. It's not hard. It just takes a little bit of sitting there and straight up just doing it. Eat higher. Skelemans, die please. My damage output disappoints even me. It is weak and sad. But we're not going to summon the bush right now. I like living. We're not up for that. I have a lot of bullets, but they don't seem to be doing much killing. Ooh. Sure, I'll be fine. I'll have faster rockets, why not? I know it's challenge skelly, but it's not. Oh, that's a good thing. Oh, they died. Hi, Chunkum, how you doing? Not great, but it could be a lot better. Sure. Yep, no, the game is beating the attack speed, we're gonna go attack speed. Certainly I need to kill one of you within like a second or two, so Die. Ghost. No, I don't want to play with your bush today, madam. I'm sorry. Regen. Acting like you ever don't have the bug. You saw me play and watch play, you know it. Monkey see, monkey do, slime boy. Blood magic really helps offset, but Satan. I love blood magic. This is my secret. Blood magic gives me the max HP boost, and that really helps me survive in the long run. I don't like shotgun that much. It's just funny for the bit. Oh, do the blood magic. Give me the survivability. Yes. God damn it. Should I just go pure damage, I guess? Damage and attack speed? I do not want to get Cursed Tome without XP or luck. It seems like a great way to kill myself. I will do precision though, because it supports him. Shit. Make that choice. I had the gas mask. I was like, man, there's an opportunity here, but I'm not going to go out of my way for a magnet right now. We don't have time for that. I will take the evasion. Bang, bang, bang. Oh yeah. Alright. Crit rate is solid. I'd love some jumps. Apparently feathers give you additional jumps now, which makes them way more interesting to me. I'm so squishy. Plank is so squishy. I'm not getting any shield steps. We need to get some sort of survivability going. That's better. More comedy, you say? Ooh. Sure. Pump that out of the way. Oh, yes. I do like the change of having the pots give you luck, because it means you are spending substantially less time prioritizing just luck tome. Like, it still helps, definitely. But this capacity to just, like, have a little more options on how you progress is good. I cannot be mad at anything that tries to open up the game a little different ways of playing it. Different methods of getting stupidly overpowered. I'm not even that good at it, so. That key is doing pretty well for me, actually. We're 2 already. Chance, more attack speed, those are good options. We found the boss gate, we got time, we're doing good. You've seen this corner, it's empty and sad and makes people cry. I know, what an awful place. Where's our frogs? I don't think we get anything for doing it again, but they're there. That was much easier this time. I've earned their trust again, guys. There's a chest down there, that's so good. magnet shrine. In fact, my main weapon's still level 1, makes me savage. You know, do you want more crit chance on this? I'm like, I would like to actually do some damage, please. Can I get some damage for my damage multipliers that are doing damage? That would be very damaging. Oh, gold is good. If I didn't take the damage tome, I don't think I'd be doing shit right now. XP gain adds up, especially if you get in the first area when you still have a lot of game left. It just matters. A lot of crits healing me and stuff, which is good. Challenge down here, might as well pop that. Four. Not feeling confident. I don't feel like Clank's doing me any favors, but I'm trying to get this thing to Clank. We'll see. We got the 1 minute marker before her pie is ready. How lovely. More luck. Clearly, more luck. Okay. We want to pass right through the middle if we can and get that. Oh, hey, there we go. Spicy meatball. Are you minding that dang bingo? Do I gotta get in there and mind that bingo? Okay, well, we've got the legendary item. And I've taken at least rare, but I'm gonna... Oh, well, hold on, I gotta get that. The proper oven. Very good pie. Maybe pie just needs to cool, then you have pie. Delicious. Okay, I don't think anything's reached level 10 yet. I'm not cleared any areas. I mean, I died when you started it, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm almost certain I've said bonk. We have plenty of duplicates, no triplicate yet. We have killed at least a blue skeleton. I don't think I've seen a gold one this run. We had moldy cheese last time, but not this time, apparently. Or burger, wow. Gas mask, though. We got gas mask on this one. I have the slutty rocket, so something slutty's been taken. I believe I have taken fall damage. I've definitely used Shrine of Suck. I've definitely used Moai. I've definitely cursed the boss. Oh, are we enjoying this? Alright. I think that's it for now. Let me know if I miss him. Going down. Of course they're on that one. Well, there's your gold skeleton. Gold skeleton, gold skeleton. Up here, Moai. I have a lot of money. I just noticed how much money I have. Holy shit. Huge, yes. Oh, that's an epic weapon upgrade regardless, for sure. I'm gonna take the sniper. That's a lot of damage. I still hate that my gun is only level 1. Alright, doing our best. Hopefully we get something decent eventually here. So far it's been pretty sad on the old revolver front. Yeah, I'll take the moldy cheese. I have enough projectiles that I think moldy cheese will do me really well. Plus I have the gas mask. That's a good synergy. That's a good 1-2 for me. What noise I made? I made a noise. Oh, but it wasn't just me slapping the mic again. We killed the other guys real fast. I don't want to spawn the tree too early. Never mind. I'll open the chest. Okay, that's fine. I want to go over here and grab these other pots. Alright. Whee, motherfucker! Alright. Moldy gloves goes really well with what we got going on. That also makes me happy. Pair that with our overheal and we're doing pretty good. More damage, please. More. Oh no, that's way over there. Okay. I'll take that one. It'll be a second, isn't it? Good God. I wanted to try sliding. It's like, you don't get to move. I don't know when this popped, but we're getting it. There's another one over by the boss stage. Man, alright, we got a lot of chests around. We got Clank-specific things, so we're doing okay. Up there? Okay, I'm forming the plan in my head. I do not want this to take too long, so I'd like to live. Plan is here. We are doing it. By now, it is definitely hubris. Grab this. I don't want to be out here too long because the black ones tend to overpower me very quickly. But I can usually make it to about a minute and a half, and they're managing quite well so far. Revolver's just pure crit chance. Did they rebalance it or something? Did I miss that note? No, he did something like that. You touch me, goodbye. That's how I operate. You touch me. Goodbye. That folder just went goodbye. Oh yeah, I'm saying goodbye a lot. The pink dude over there. A lot of pots over here. There's a lot of time things up here. Choices. But remember, pots raise luck now, so if we get the pots early, our prizes are better. Now we go over and grab this. Okay. Doesn't lifesteal do something for me? Give me some lifesteal. I thought something triggered lifesteal. Maybe that's the last one. Maybe I'm mixing them up again. I don't know. I would like a way to, like, check what my present items do. They're... Oh. Hey, you can, actually. Look at that. Well. Cool. I don't think that's new. Just think I never thought to use the mouse. My crit chance up to 91? It could be higher. Looking for frogs again. The problem is I was already huge on just hunting down every pot, and now they've given them a secondary purpose, and it's like, well, this is my life. I'm gonna be the pot bitch. Fine. I'm gonna see the sales guy. Ooh, there's a thing over there too. Oh, there's so much stuff I care about. Okay. Well, beats the alternative of there being Jack Diddley. Toxic barrel. Slutty cannon. Ah! Ah! Oh, we got a triplicate item. Triplicate item. Triplicate item. What? Am I like bonking the desk or something? Am I rubbing my sweater on the mic? Am I doing something wrong? I don't know what noise I'm making. Oh, I think Slutty Can is just funnier. You gotta do it for the bit, right? I'm moaning? I didn't realize I was moaning. Oh my god. Oh, I'm a slut by instinct. Okay. Great, good to know. Oh, yeah. Over here. Oh, I see you. Holy shit. Oh. Oh. Oh, so many choices. This will give me guaranteed double crit. Alright, fun. Oh, yes, please. Oh, yes, please. Alright, die really fast, make me smile. Thank you. Hey, you didn't do like your friend. You're just jealous of my frog hat. Die! Why'd the other one go so fast? Man. Alright. This is the corner of joy. I have 3 sunglasses. If those pop again, I'm damning them. Should I? I don't know. Well, there's a legendary shrine. Give me the games. Give me the mad games, bro. Ice crystal. Ooh, I already have this. Twice. I don't wanna... I've worked hard for my HP, damn you. Crystal's good. I don't need a second shrine in a row of sucky. Damage. Mad zoomies! Yeah, I just keep getting crits. Crits and bounces. I'm not getting any damage on that revolver. It's just really annoying. It did last time. Not this one. Give me some ghosts, though. Ooh, ghosts. Yeah, there's the up there. By the boss portal. Good boy. Good boy dead. That where else? Still not have a yeah, if I do something that's on that bingo list, you gotta make sure I actually call it. There's the frogs. Okay, we're in business. I'm trying to keep on it, but I'm one person. Likewise, Izzy, you started the bingo. Feel free to help me keep up with the bingo. Pickup range, lifesteal, projectile speed. Oh. Oh, thank you, Barb. What's the 5 of 10 thing? Damage. Blood magic damage. And a Moai. Oh my gosh. The revolver's just built for crits now. Oh, there's legendary. Boom. Absolutely. More moldy cheese? Absolutely. More crit chance. What's my... HP region. What's that say? Okay. I'm getting a lot of bling blings. My OBS is... I should really... I keep saying I should sit down and figure out what's going on with that. Okay. The tomes are getting a lot of attention this round. Okay. Don't mind me. I don't have a legendary tome. I do have 4 of everything, though. Again, guys. A precision tome? That's hard to argue with. And the crit hoe right now, so let's go. Moldy gloves with my whole setup of nightmares and poison? Yes, please. Saw the frogs, and then I didn't go for the frog. I feel like a fool. We'll find them. It's fine, we got time. Unless they're super strong, in which case... Uh-oh. More subbies for Mom. Sucky Magnet! Yo, I love Sucky Magnet. Sucky Magnet, my beloved. We love things that suck in this house. That's where the cats. Let me hate the vacuum. Very specifically. Did I not mark triplicate item? I thought I marked triplicate a while ago. Oh, you're right. You right. Damage to elites. Evasion might be good to have. And there's can't afford. There's all kinds of shit over there. I still don't have a second jump though. No, I don't know if I can get over there. That's a problem. Oh, over here. That might be where the frog was too, actually. Okay. A delicious shrine horns might be coming to the end here. That's okay. Yep, there's the frog. Okay, this is where I want to be. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and say Sarah's sense of direction happened. Okay, we got Turbo Sock for mad speed. Oh, Blood Mark though. Oh, double pots. I'm getting more luck per pot now. It's 0.5 instead of 0.3. Did it scale with area or something? I'm getting a lot of these. I don't think I'm getting anywhere near all of them this time. More duration doesn't help so much now. Epic. I'll take the HP, yeah. You're right. Give me a sec. I'm befriending these frogs real quick. Love and peace! Come here, Ribbit Boy. Come to me, you hoppy bastard. You know what? Fucking... Hubris, go! I think the revolver just kind of sucks now. Wild. Alright. Let's see what we can get away with. It's kind of a weird run at this point. Damage. You put it on smiley mode? Oh! Oh, Lizzie's mean. Lizzie's mean. Oh, we have a tome at level 10. Hey, whatever makes it fun. If the mod makes it fun, then I don't mind. Still no burger this run? Alright. Double gas mask ain't bad, though. Trying to figure out what I need to... How much I can be content with where I'm at here. I'm happy about that. Trying to cover as much of the map as I can, typically. Oh, there's a quintuplet item. Alright, gotta mark that. Well, these are going pretty fast, though, so I don't feel too bad about my triple boss situation. Oh, I've never gotten that before. Uses damage, period. The fog is tough, because that usually means I've been knocked way the fuck in the air. That is not a common one. It is a funny one. Why I put it there. Okay. Getting some good stuff. Getting some good stuff. And we're getting another skull. Alright, that's fine. It's more guys to fight. I'll figure out what's wise here with the time I have left. Let's see. Let's try to find this one. I do want to get as many of these as I can. Like, they're straight up upgrades to everything. I do want that. Crit chance went 200%, so that's fine. I don't think I'll be able to go much further than this, so we're just going to have to call it what we've got. So we have to have time to beat the boss. I'll get what I can. Arguably pushing my luck more than I should, but that's kind of the game at this point. Yes, you need to get me knocked up. So, good luck. Okay. This will get me there relatively quick. It's kind of a weird roundabout route to get there no matter what, and it's concerning. because it's way the F up there, so I gotta go around this whole thing. We'll be fighting the boss in overtime. That usually doesn't go well for me. I will have rage for the start of it. Problem is there's 3 of it. I really thought I'd get here a little faster, but alright. Hubris again. For my life. There's a shield in that tree. The real question is if I'll be able to get that time for the charge shrine. A kingdom for fucking... Okay. Alright. I'm going through this. Just to be safe. Well, I'm in a weird situation and it would do me well. Hope to kill at least one of you before this wears out. Thank you. There's Borger. I'm in hell. This is scary. Okay. I will take the crit chance. I'm counting that second area cleared. Even though I don't get in the gate, that second area cleared. And even though I'm up on a hill, I am disinclined to hang out here for too long. My damage is solid. I don't know. That was scary. How's this for Hubers? That Hubers enough? Did we enjoy that Hubers? Damage! It can go up. That's 130. We're leaving. Oh my gosh. How are we doing this well? Okay. No, I'll take it. It's fine. I'll take it. That got real close to me, though. Goodbye. Okay, one more round of frogs. Fine, we're done with the frogs. Isn't that exciting? The Moai starts beatboxing briefly. Alright. Sure, man. Weapon has reached level 10. That's done. Alright. Alright. Oh, started right in the middle. That's good. More pickup range doesn't really need that with what I have. Movement speed would probably do me good. So we got that boss to worry about. Not getting to the point where I am slightly worried about that. We are coming up on that final situation, and we are not exactly fast. And my downfall, 9 times out of 10, really does seem to be not the things the boss does. Rather, the orbs. Ooh, all hail the anvil. I'd love that. Try to manifest that part. It's too late for the anvil to really matter, but... Slurp gloves or map lost to fog? I still only have solar on the thing, too. It's so funny. Alright. No one else has won. It's just him. It's so funny. You're all like, please! It's too late for this. Too late for that to really matter. I mean, it could if I beat the boss and get to the end, I guess. But that's an early run. Liz screaming internally. You could have made it the blackout, the full coverage. The damage. We don't need the money where we're going. Money is going to stop mattering here pretty soon, especially when you get any red cards. It limits me a little. Yeah, luck does go up more per area. Look at that. Alright. Hello. Goodbye. No, let's just go north. See a target, we're gonna go right for it. It'll be great. Oh, suckage is everywhere. I'm gonna keep an eye out for any frog eggs dancing. I really need move speed. We're at a point where I need to prioritize move speed a lot more than I have. I need at least some. I need some hustle. This is starting to get funny. Now my crit chance is pretty high. Toxic Barrel goes well with what I have, so... if I do beat the damn boss, we will be needing... yeah. I'm sorry you were punished, Lizzie. You tried not being so naughty, so you don't have any crimes to be punished for. That's right, hip and blame. It's cool and hip and in this season. I'm a good person. You'll be naughtier. Prove it. Oh, you monster. Moldy cheese goes well with the build. Also help me during the boss fight. That's alright, it's helping me now. Problem, Clank is great crowd control. I'm worried about that finale. I'm always worried about the finale, to be fair. Checking everywhere I can, just in case it's where the frog is. Oh man, the revolver is just not getting good levels, man. I'm worried. That's all I'm gonna have at the boss fight. Oh. See, really basic. If we could just get some minor damage increases, it'd be really nice, but I ain't got faith it's gonna happen. I'm trying to feed it what I can. But my damage tome is so high. Peek in this hole, but I don't think there's anything I need. So also, we only have one jump still, and that's going to be a big problem. I do not have a lot of confidence we're actually going to clear round 3, but we are getting most of what we came here to do, so I'm not too upset. Like, our damage is good, our movement is easily the weak link here. We got time. Let's see what we can do. Different problem. I mean, usually my damage is where I get choked up. Oh, Bob's Light, huh? There is a downside to this. I don't know. I'll try it. It can actually give you issues in the final swarm with the gas mask, because the gas mask gives you that overheal and armor based on how many enemies are poisoned actively. So if you just clear everything around you on a regular basis, you end up more or less removing your armor at regular intervals, which is not ideal. But it's still a really good item overall, so we're going to try it. It mostly helps. It's just in that final, like, once you hit the 5-6 minute marker. I'm trying to bite you in the ass, but I can't plan on the 5-6 minute marker. I'm busy planning on the now immediate problem. Also, I still haven't seen the frog eggs, so... Hey! Okay, I feel better. I immediately feel way better. That second jump is massive. Just that little bit of extra mobility goes a long way. That also feels good. Look at him die. Holy shit. Oh, it's 2 million health we just drove through. Hey, I got a leeching crystal. Let's never get those. One of the things is like, get 3 of these in a row, and I'm just like, you? What a dick. Okay, we're trying. I still don't see the frog egg anywhere. I'm trying to keep an eye out, but no promises. Doing my best. Getting all 3 of them would be cool. Shield doesn't hurt me any. Oh, why doesn't hurt my feelings. That's really late. Now this, on the other hand, with a fucking 271% crit chance, now you're speaking my language. That works. Sure. Alright, we spotted the boss gate. We covered most of the map. We've got some speed. We've got a thing automatically sucks in a bunch of XP. We're doing pretty good. Take a bit of lifesteal, actually. Yes, please. Oh! Oh! You're right. I wasn't doing enough damage. This is just up on a friggin' hill. And I still don't see the egg. Oh, man. Alright. We were pretty thorough. There's the bush, but I'm feeling real ballsy. Alright, we've got a situation. Any chance just kind of look around real quick. I don't know where that frog egg could even be at this point. So, that doesn't seem like it's happening this run, but I did my best. I got it. There's money. I got real excited there for one frog egg. No, that's a point. start making our way back. Not on a tree. Yeah. Oh my god, I see it. This is stupid, I'm doing it. Done. I got the frogs. I got the frogs, dogs. Okay, look at that. What do I look up to? Like, what kind of difference? 81? That's not bad for not having a tome or anything. The pots thing is nice. I guess I'll throw in my refreshes now, because it's not like they're going to matter for anything else. We're at 300% crit chance, so we're guaranteed to do just a fuck ton all the time. Base damage on... I don't care what the other one is. I saw base damage from my revolver. I am now feeling like the boss is potentially doable, which is... Also, at 130, where I'm usually getting swarmed, I'm keeping them at bay pretty well, which is... That ain't bad. Like, it's scary, don't get me wrong. I'm not like, ooh, this is easy, but like, they're not getting me. Two we run, no matter what. Alright. Yep. Yep. I think we're at an okay build here. I'm gonna go fight the boss though, because I'm scared. If I get to this final rush, we're setting a new record. I think my record's like 21 or something, so this is very encouraging. My max HP is actually not bad. Looking at it, I was like, it could be better. No, it's got 200 more than I thought it did. Thank you, Blood Knight. Wow! Wow! Holy shit! Okay! Eesh. Alright, Clank, let's do this, asshole. Let's see what you're capable of here. More DPS than I've ever had in my life, apparently. And it's not a close contest. That's why I wanted the movement speed and the jumps right there. And that's with the bullets. I was like, these aren't doing that much. I'm worried. Oh, okay. Thank you, 300% crit chance. You are a blessing. Alright, now we gotta run. Nope. No, I can fly. Where? Oh my god, they're all over here. Okay. I don't need that many jumps, but I do need extra jumps. It makes a huge difference for me. Guys, I think he's mad at me. Get hyped, asshole. Oh yeah, I just got the sniper rifle back. Homeboy's dead. Oh, this feels so good after the last night. I need to pay attention. I'm not looking at chat. I am not looking at chat. I am paying attention. I'm locked in. Let's go. Let's go. I don't want to lose this one to Hubris. This is too good. Oh, the reds. Oh, I don't like the reds. Oh, I don't like the reds. 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 Reds like to kill me. Reds ruin everything. Yo. 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 Okay. Okay. Oh, I need a second. Woo! Alright, so a 300% crit rate is really good, just so you know, guys. 300%! 300% things tend to go well. Also, I have almost 10x damage. I'm not messing around. I had a good run. Alright, we had a, like, comprehensive build. That's no XP or luck tome either. That's just, like, I focused on the stats, and it worked. So, sorry, meta. I did pretty good, actually. Damn. Yeah, kill them harder. I don't want to get in the hole. I want to get in the hole. I've won. I win. I did it. That's it. That's the game. It doesn't make a difference to go in the hole or not. No, I don't want to go in the hole. I want to set a record. Stop trying to defend your leaderboard position. I'm on to you. Mama's got a new record to set. There's no upside to getting in the hole. Is there any reason to go in the hole? I've looked into it. There's just not one. La 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 la. I'm just going for a little hike here. Don't mind me. Ooh, more? Don't mind if I do. Free money. You might have the 300% crit chance. Plus, I got the mega crit fort. Plus, I've got the things that heal me on crit. Like, I got a good lucky crit build. Like, just a very good build. And now I've got Bob. I've got a dead ghost of my dead frog helping me out. Yes, please. La la la! It is funny. More size, get more than I want. Okay. Just a couple victory laps here real quick, just around the la 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 la. Oh. Just does its hard. Does its hard. Oh, and last time I did this, I did learn what happens if you fall off the map. Jack shit! It just warps you back up. Why god damn it. What's wrong with you? Oop! They touched me. Oh, they touched me. Time to go sit in the corner. Time to be in the corner like a good girl. Hey, more base damage from my revolver. My frog has a butthole. Look at all my pretty numbers. There we go, now I can see them. Now I can see that. How's everyone doing? I mean, weird. Frogs poop, Spritz. I don't know how to break this to you. I do not have... Are you really gonna block that, Automod? People can say butthole. People can say... I'm gonna turn Automod off at this rate. I don't think it's very smart. I do not have the bot set up for a quote archive. I know that's a thing. I did do some bot research. I was like, is this worth it? Is this good? I don't know. Oh, okay, that's my last research. I'm in my corner for bad girls, and it says I'm cooked. The wild thing is they're still barely touching me, ever. This is awesome. Oh, there's 21K, which I think is my record, so, yeah. Yeah, I think maybe I slightly beat the boss. Oh, they touched me. They touched me. And he got my crit rate. Ooh, we're so close to 400. We're so close to 400. Oh my god. Okay. Sure, man. Also, I have 2 gas masks, so I'm getting some overheal and armor from this. So Bob's Light will probably be what kills me. But hey, there we go. I think that's, yeah, 404% crit rate. $411% crit rate, 14x damage. Almost 15. Sarah, please, what? What am I doing wrong? What did I do wrong? Attack faster? You're right. Fritz, you think I've only lived to 5 minutes? I routinely make it to 6, dude. That's hard to argue with. We like my triple size murder projectiles. My sniper rifle that just shoots lasers at this point. Fucking Dr. Robotnik murder beams. No, it does not end at 5. They just do way more damage at 5. I think I died standing up. Every 30 seconds they scale up more. So at 5 minutes it's pretty bad, and at 6, like, they just touched me once and I died. I was very... It's Clank. But no, that's pretty fucking good. I think that's a new record. And I got 4 things. I got 3 hats and a new rusty looking outfit. But look at that! Boom. Boom, boom, boom. Gotta go to my hats. Oh, these are kind of spendy. He's fucking dead. He's fucking dead. He's fucking dead. I think my record's like 610 or something like that for the record. It gets very hard to survive after 5. I'm surprised Clank died as instantly as he did, but he didn't really have like armor tome or anything like that. So at the same time, like, once they touched him, goodbye. But man, that was awesome. For the sake of argument, yep, that's my new record. Still not beating Encase, damn it. He's still 6,000 ahead of me, but that's my new record. Why is Donald Trump third? We should kill him. Anyway. And I only have 79, so I can't upgrade the one thing I've left to upgrade. That's it. I just need to upgrade my silver. I spent all my silver on hats. But look at that, we got 4 hats. 5 hats. None of these are very hard, but we got some hats. We got the frogs. All 3 frogs are now ours. That is, in context of what I just had happen. Yeah, the cat ears is the gamer headset. I mean, I could do that if you want. Do we need the cat? I mean, it is me, I guess. I should go get the cat ears. Oh, fuck. Hold on. Okay, I like that fit, Clank. That looks good on you. Ninja, we don't really play. Desert, I'm just gonna do... Oh no. Wait, no, tier 1. That changes up a bit. Chonk mode. I don't want to do chonk mode. I think I want to do oh shit. Let's do oh shit. Let's see what happens if we do oh shit. I forgot a hat. Hold on. I do like that vibe. I like that vibe. I think that suits this situation. Look, he's dressed up for the desert. Okay, this will be my last run, win or lose. I gotta make dinner, so it's almost 8. So, place your bets. If Liz wants to manage another bingo, she's more than welcome to. I don't at the moment. I'm just trying to play it, and that slows me down a lot, so. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Also, if I beat this, it'll be my tournament challenge. So. That incentivizes me somewhat. Just right in a corner. Alright. First challenge, we need 2 boss shrines. There's one right here, so... We're somewhat at the mercy of the game on that, but it's not too bad. We're also somewhat at the mercy, you know, if we actually get. Damage good. Silver Cloud's not contribute luck? Huh. Ooh. Yeah, we don't have a lot of health. Pretty long damage there. We're gonna scale up fast, that is our downside. Focus on offense for a moment. Congrats on your shell pile! Shell pile! Get his ass. Not what we want to see. That is not what we want to see. Like I said, if Liz or someone wants to start one as a mod, then go for it. Otherwise, I don't want to babysit it right now. It slows me down a lot. just doing a quick attempt at this, and honestly, at this rate I might have to do a second one. It's not going well, but we'll see. I did say win or lose is my last one, so I should probably stick to my guns. At the moment, the experience, the health, all of it's pretty sad. Pretty sad. Help me deal with those guys. Oh, yeah, Ninja's got the momentum in his case, that's straight up just going to be a survival tactic. I'm trying to grab some stuff. That's better. Sarah needs some offense really bad. The game is being stingy and it's rough. It happens. Sometimes you just gotta run. Like, I have so much movement right now, I have no DPS. There goes a blue guy. That's almost definitely not happening. At least that'll hit more. I have this huge swarm on me. I have extremely basic weapons. I have a lot of them, but they're really, really, really basic. And I don't have a lot of health. I'm gonna have to move on and just let them chase me, or we're not getting anywhere. I hope this gets me like a 200 or something. Before I die. Take it. Oh well. Didn't say it was my last one. It's 8 o'clock. I gotta make dinner. Yeah, that's just, it kept handing me garbage. No, not really. I mean, it wasn't really up to me if it was good or bad. The game just decided it was a bad one. Karma for last time. Whatever. We'll try again later. Not tonight. I gotta write the report after we eat. And got stuff to do. I just wanted to do a quickie. I did make it worse, yes. Ninja's not that hard. Ninja actually has some of the easier movement because he can do the momentum flip. He's one of like 2 characters that apparently when you're sliding, if you jump a different direction, he carries the speed. So that helped. And I actually like the katana. I like the katana a lot. It's one of my favorite weapons. I just couldn't get any... Quantity would have helped. Damage would have helped. Lifesteal probably... I had no healing. It kept giving me movement. I only needed movement the once to outpace those fucking, the skeleton ball dudes, the tumbleweeds of bones, or whatever you want to call them. Those are faster than your basic move speed. They're a big problem. As you can see, it would have been challenge 20. Like, I've been cooking. I've been trying to get the stupid Cursed Tome level 10 thing for ages. I just need... Like that run that we had earlier, that would have done it. If I'd had the Cursed Tome, but I think the Cursed Tome would have made it so I didn't have that run. My damage was awesome. Kill Spooky Steve, I need to do still. Good luck with that. Cursed Tome to get the final weapon. This, I just haven't managed it. I try to get them all, but I get bounced out a lot or I move out. It's kind of hard to do, honestly, so... that one will happen when it happens. I can't really do that on purpose. This one I have grinded a little bit. Its achievement rate is really, really low, it turns out. Like, I've gone in with Athena, and I've made 3 attempts to intentionally work on this, and it's... Athena's not the ticket. Like, she has the thorns innately, but the Aegis does enough damage. That's usually what kills them. Cactus just doesn't have a lot of HP, usually. I need Roberta to do this. Need Cursed Tome level 10 to do this. Most I've ever had is 1 Leeching Crystal. Yeah, well, I see Athena recommended a lot because she gains thorns naturally. Ufi has melee. Something like a shotgun or something you could aim like the bush. If you get thorns on the bush and you just aim away and you bounce into them, it would work pretty well. This one is having a specific room spawn in the crypt, and I don't play the graveyard enough to even have the shot. There's a switch in a room that opens a wall where you have to jump in the lava to go through a tunnel in the lava to get the snake. And then this is probably you kill Spooky Steve, you just go through grabbing everything, honestly. Yeah, and then that lets you get this. This is almost there. It's just for an achievement. This is my last tier 1 on Forest. I have some theories. So on the snake, an important thing, it says find in the crypt on graveyard. If you actually look at the achievement description on Steam, it says find in the secret room in the crypt on graveyard. So actually looking at that is what led me to even Googling it. I thought it just popped out of a pod or something. I just had bad luck. Yeah, if I can do Pacifist, I'm done with Forest Tier 1. I've dented it. I've done the first crypt estate. That is not easy. Everyone says it's easy. I didn't think it was. And this is just the skins. We're denting them bit by bit. It's just playing everyone more. And now there's hats. Mega bonk, indeed, you mean? Okay. Alright. So that's like, as Athena kill 500 enemies using Quinn's Mask. Yeah, that is. Quinn's Mask is Thorns damage, causes them to explode. She builds Thorns. That's a good one for her. Athena's a weird way to play. She is for a Thorns build. You get her some armor and lifesteal and regen, she's probably pretty solid. And I've had a Thorns build before. I wasn't too happy about it because I wasn't really set up for surviving being a Thorns build. But when your main damage output is Thorns, you can see the Thorns happening on boss health bars real easy. It's like, oh, okay. Mine's all flying. Like, some of these are just interesting. And we've started these. Look at that. We got our shady hats. Bit by bit. That's rough, man. And then this is max out everybody, which even the guy who does the videos on Megabonk last I knew hadn't done, so. Today it's something to grind. Oops, I punched the mic. Something to grind. I don't use microwaves that much, so this one's rough for me. The trade of them's a little weird, but whatever. Yeah. I've been busy. Don't you lose something if you cook something, though? Like, I thought that was the trade. It takes one of your items of the same tier and gives you... Yeah, so... If you're not smart about it, you can fuck up your whole build. Yeah, I get a mixed bag. I've used them a couple times. It's got to be really obvious and worth it. No, I mean, you use them when you get an opportunity that makes sense. Like, if I saw a pink one and decided to go crazy on gas mask, that probably would have been smart. That one would have worked. Moldy cheese duplication's a big one. If you can do the ice damage one and pair that with the freezing, that's supposed to be really good DPS, like top tier. Higher tier microwaves are also just less common, I think, so good luck. Alright, I gotta go cook dinner. Thank you for vibing with me for a little bit, couple hours or so, hour and a half. Tomorrow is Tuesday. That's a thing twerking. Or headbutting, I can't tell which. Tomorrow is Tuesday, commissions of some kind. I'll be streaming. Probably, I don't know. I want to say Scabs, but I got so much stuff I need to do besides Scabs that have deadlines at the end of the month. The Cupid things are due in Probably just do the other Cupid thing. Either way, it's for Liz, so she wins, I guess. I'll probably do her Cupid thing, because that one's by my chart next, and also by the 30th. The one that's like, she wouldn't refund me, I'm sure, but it would give her the option at that point, and I'd rather never hit that point if I can help it. I like to meet those lines that it establishes. Keeps me going. So, yeah, probably do the other Cupid thing tomorrow, and we'll go from there. That might just be the whole stream. I don't know. We'll see. But tonight, I make dinner, I type up thing, I get real quiet so my wife can sleep so she can do her writing tomorrow. Yee. So, that's my general plan. We'll have something to post later. Have a lovely evening. / morning. For some of you at this point, it pretty much is morning. And I will see you next time. On here, probably Wednesday. For whatever comes after our first visit to Roke. I'm already dressed for the occasion. Good night, everybody.